put away what you did last week and you start fresh and get ready for another week and a great test for us.
Welcome back to another Emmy-less edition of the Enough Said program. My name is Dan Barreiro, joined by Justin Gaard and Lori Fisher. Both of you did your part in trying to represent
at the Upper Midwest Emmys,
which I appreciate. It wasn't our night. It hasn't been our night the last 3 years. But
we're pushing it aside, like Kirk Cousins said.
I was going to say it's a perfect soundbite.
We're going to focus on this week and this show.
2022 will be our year.
No bitterness about it at all. I don't even think we should talk about
Congratulations to all the winners.
Get it out of our system and move on.
Most specifically, Tom Lydon for taking all the trophies that I had to then carry out of the Emmy Awards.
Lori had to mail one of them.
I did. I had to go to FedEx.
I hope everybody got their Emmys that we picked up for them.
So we're
not bitter about it.
We're going to put it behind us. We're going to say enough said on that.
Okay.
Yes.
And then we're going to say a more positive start to the Vikings talk this week because they beat the Lions last week. They take on the Carolina Panthers this Sunday at noon on Fox 9. The Panthers lost their last 2 games, so we're hoping that the Vikings can pull another win going into this week's bye. Then they'd have a record of 3-3, Dan.
Yeah, before the bye, 500 would be nice. I have to, I guess, correct something I said a week ago. I said a week ago that even if the Vikings lose the Lions, I didn't think Zimmer would be fired, even if it was a fireable offense.
Yeah.
I think the way the game transpired, blowing the 10-point lead a couple of times and having the Lions literally on the brink of winning the unwinnable, might have changed. I think all bets might have been off.
It would have entered the conversation.
Been talking about the possibility of who's the new interim coach or where are they going to, who is they going to get? Is Bill Parcells going to be the next coach of the team?
Yep.
Again, you don't apologize for the victory, but let me say this. Let's look ahead a little bit. This game is a game you absolutely should win. Carolina's not that good.
Right.
They started 3-0, but they played, I think they beat the Jets, they beat the Texans. Everybody beats the Jets and the Texans. They were 5-11 last year. It shouldn't even be news that you go, if you want to be the team you're supposed to be, you go to Carolina and you absolutely get to 3-3. In all seriousness, this is a game you should win. Their quarterback is not very good.
Sam Darnold.
He's had a couple of moments. He came back to pack last week. So let's not act like if they go there, it's like, wow, went on the road and now we're back at 500. This is what you should be obligated to do if you're the Minnesota Vikings.
You mentioned Bill Parcells. That's serendipitous because Mike Zimmer always likes to use his line about cornerbacks that you can always use another one. Here's another Parcells line, Dan. They don't ask you how. They ask you how many. He's talking about victories. And that's what the Vikings are going with right now because they're 2-3. Last week, they were way ahead. Melted down, needed a big kick. Think about it. The Minnesota Vikings kicker made a big kick. They're carrying him off right here.
Another kick.
After missing an easier kick, 49 yards.
Right.
But the logic or what the Vikings have been going with, and some fans and sometimes me, is they're only a couple plays away from being 4-1 and 5-0. If that's true, then you have no problem with Carolina this weekend. You're absolutely right. And I think as of this, they are favored in the game. I think they're favored.
Now they're favored by 1. They started as underdogs by 1 or 2, I think.
I think that's fair. I think that makes sense. If you're the team that you think you are, we've said that a lot over the last couple of years, but if you think you are the team that's had bad luck, and that's why you're not 4-1 or 5-0, then you have no drama going into Carolina, who probably won't have Christian McCaffrey, their best overall player,
right? Unlikely, yes.
He hasn't practiced really all week.
And we probably are going to have Dalvin, it appears.
It seems like it might not have anybody else.
It's true.
Might not have Jefferson, might not have Thielen, might not have some others. But I agree with you totally. This is not a game where
30 seconds.
You're not going into Lambeau Field on Sunday Night Football against Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady or something like that.
This should not be classified as a mythic victory if you get it. It's what you're supposed to do. I will say, and I've tried to defend the coordinator that there's been too much about,
conservative play calling.
Conservative play calling. But there is something to be said for this. Even though we don't like to be wide open because we think that exposes the worst of Kirk Cousins and this offensive line.
Final point.
It's a little scary, though, when you're not even willing to open it up against the Detroit Lions. That's where I think it is where the coaches are a little vulnerable, and it's a little concerning. We're not asking you to do it against a great defense.
Enough said.
It's the Detroit Lions, and the fact that they still, we do it the way we do it, might be a little bit concerning.
Memo to the running backs, whoever's playing, let's hold on to the ball this week.
Especially late.
Just hold on to it.
Especially late.
2 hands.
Next up.
Hold on to it. Don't fumble.
Shouldn't mean
Not
too
that
much.
complicated.
Shouldn't be that difficult.
Okay, next up, so much follow-up from the investigation into workplace misconduct inside the Washington football team. Las Vegas Raiders head coach John Gruden Gruden resigned following the release of offensive emails containing racist, sexist, homophobic language. Those leaked emails were part of 650,000 reviewed by the NFL. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers also removed Gruden's name from the team's Ring of Honor, Justin.
He's getting what he deserves. I think we all agree with that. As of a week ago, we didn't know to the extent of all the groups that he offended, all the ridiculous things that he said, right? On Friday, we had, I guess, the one simple case of racism that we were talking about
at that point, yeah.
Now, that's different from what the team and what Gruden knew, apparently. They apparently knew that all of this stuff existed, and then the New York Times leaked it out. And then, of course, everything changes, and he's getting exactly what he deserves. We've talked a lot about change and progress, and not just the last year and a half. We've talked about it forever, right? And I always think about what Joseph Lowery told you, Martin Luther King's right-hand man for all those years. Everything has changed from the 60s or before, and nothing has changed. And Andre Patterson kind of talked a little bit about that this week. But as long as you have guys like Gruden, guys like Bruce Allen, the Hooters CEO, the Outback Bowl CEO, all kind of in this together in the old boys group, so to speak.
In positions of authority.
That's exactly right. That's my point. You're never going to get the full meaningful turn, the change that you're really looking for until you can shake that tree a little bit. And that's what this is, because they all felt comfortable in saying whatever the hell they wanted to say about whomever they wanted, and they didn't think anybody was going to do anything about it.
You know, where Gruden lost me beyond the original racist emails, even when it was just there, where he lost, I don't know if he could have saved it for me anyway by what he said. But basically what he said after that one, if you recall, was, tough negotiations, and I just was frustrated.
I was upset.
And so if you translate that, what he, to me, is saying is, when I get frustrated, I go racist.
Yeah.
It's like, well, no, that tells you everything we need to know about you, because frustration is one thing, anger is one thing, lashing out is one thing, but when you lash out...
You take it there.
And take it there, how do you then look with a straight face, honestly, how do you look in the mirror, not in the mirror, how do you look across the table at anybody, including DeMaurice Smith, who was the head negotiator for the union
30
then,
seconds.
And think that you're going to be taken seriously, and why should you be taken seriously? So to him, he's getting exactly what he deserved. What's interesting will be to find out why this stuff was leaked.
Yes.
What hasn't been leaked? Is there any manipulation going on here? Did the NFL kind of want him to go, and is this the way they chose passive-aggressive to do it?
Yeah.
As opposed to just going public? And what else is...
Well, remember what this investigation is about. It's about the Washington football team and all the dysfunction and all the mistreatment and all the problems they've had. That was all part of this investigation, and Gruden had nothing to do with any of that. He was caught up in it with good reason.
With the emails,
but we'll see what else they uncover.
Well, another name caught up in it, and I just want to spend a few minutes on this. Adam Schefter. It was sent Washington's GM at the time back in 2011 a draft of a story about the NFL lockout. He asked if anything should be changed or added, even called him Mr. Editor. Schefter released a statement saying, looking back, he shouldn't have done it, but in no way would he hand over final say about a story to anyone ever. As we know as journalists, we don't give people our story and have them approve it before publishing it, Dan.
Yeah, I mean, the no-no is he's acknowledging. It's one thing to, especially on a complicated negotiation. I think all of us have a hard time understanding these negotiations.
No question.
So I have no problem with, in his thoroughness, he's got sources, probably on both sides, players and owners, to say, all right, let me run a couple things by you as I'm trying to explain to readers what this is about. I got no problems with that. The issue is when you literally send the whole piece, it's a no-no. You can't do it. We don't know what Allen said or what he did, if he actually changed anything.
Yeah.
But it was a bad move. I will say, in my own view, real quickly, it's not the worst journalistic crime of the week in terms of malpractice. We talked about this on the radio a little bit. Katie Couric reveals herself in her book that she protected Ruth Bader Ginsburg, took some comments out during an interview in order to protect a Supreme Court justice. That is, to me, every bit as egregious. In some ways, it's even worse.
I think it's worse.
Because then you run the risk of, well, who are you protecting and why?
Yep.
And is there someone else you might be willing to let hang out there no matter how damning or damaging you think that comment is? That is an absolute no-no.
The only thing you could do in that situation journalistically is air it.
Yes.
And allow them to maybe say, because I think after the fact, RBG's people said, well, she didn't understand the question or she'd like to amend some things. Give them the opportunity and then let the public decide, right, on what side they believe. But, yeah, the Schefter thing, because it makes sense to check because he's as well sourced as anybody, right? In the National Football League, there's a reason why he's got a lot of trust with a lot of people. What he did for Allen is probably one of those reasons why they don't feel like he's ever going to burn him on anything, and he might just give him the whole story before. It makes a ton of sense to say, if I write this, if I say that, am I on the right track? I mean, everybody's watched all the President's Men. You'd say, hey, if I write this, am I right? Am I wrong? What would? But you can't just give them the whole thing.
No, you can't. I dare say, though, there's journalists who sadly go down this road a little more than you think.
Oh, sure.
They shouldn't. It should be an absolutely non-negotiable point.
On much more important stuff than football, too, by the way.
I'd like to think. Well, is there stuff more important than football?
The champagne showers have begun. Smiles all around. Really,
I'm so filled with emotion about what just happened. It's extraordinary. Extraordinary. I hope I never recover from this.
Actor William Shatner, or should I say Captain Kirk, made it to the final frontier hugging Jeff Bezos. We know who that is, too, from Amazon. He has a few dollars in the bank.
He's got a buck or two.
Yeah, he's doing okay.
At 90 years old, Shatner is the oldest person to travel to space. He and 3 others were up for about 10 minutes. This was Blue Origin's second human flight. The company says it has sold $100 million worth of tickets to future passengers. So we are going to see a lot more of this, Dan.
$100 million?
Yes.
What does it cost? $250 or so a person? What does it cost? I can't.
It's kind of scrounge our money together.
Well, I just can't remember. I know we've had prices. That's what I always remember.
I'm kind of curious. Are we sure he went up there?
I'm never sure anymore.
Are we sure?
I'm never sure.
You sure that wasn't a studio?
Well, after Branson...
You know, we have all those conspiracies
that
are still out there that we never even made it to the moon.
I know.
Which is silly. I'm just kidding around. Don't email me. I don't mean it. But there are
Kyrie Irving.
We'll get to that.
Yeah, I know.
But there are people who I think are going to be a little bit suspicious of it. Look, you and I are probably on an island here because a lot of people are going to... this is so elitist.
Yep.
And this is so far beyond the average rube, and we're so far removed from reality. Why should we care? I love the sense of wonder in the comments from William Shatner, and it adds another layer that it's him. It's the Mr. Star Trek guy, Captain Kirk, who's doing it.
Yep.
I love what he articulated there. I wish the rest. I hope we never lose some of that sense of wonder, even if the people who are doing it are people who probably are not, any of them, living check to check.
Yeah, do you think Bezos takes a vacation day to do that? Like, does he have to go into his Workday app and request the time off, and then I suppose he approves it? Now, the big question is, $250 grand or not, we don't know the price. If Bezos calls you, are you going up on the next Origin space flight, the Blue Origin?
I'm not proud of my gutlessness, but I don't think I'm capable of, I would be too afraid. I mean, I don't feel good about that. I wish I had what Shatner had. I mean, maybe Shatner says, hey, look, I'm 90.
It's been a good run.
It's been a heck of a run.
Yeah.
But still, at the moment of truth,
yeah, I know.
You're still going, well, yeah, but I'm relatively healthy. I like my life. So I give him credit. I give credit for anybody who does it. I don't know if I'd have the guts to.
I think I'd go in about a decade. Let's let them work a few things out. Let's make sure
that they got the
bring the price down a little bit.
Can I spend more than 10 minutes? I mean, can I get
the price down too, as Lori said?
Price down, a little more accessible. Can I get 30?
Yeah. And I don't
you want a meal. You said you want a meal.
Well, could I get maybe have some Tang?
A ginger ale. No, ginger ale.
Ginger ale for airplanes. We talked about that.
No booze on that flight, though. We'll agree. Not a good idea to have booze on that flight.
I mean,
well, not sure that would matter to Lori.
I was going to say, I don't have $250 grand, but doesn't it seem like actually the price should be much higher to travel to space?
Well, it might be. That's just me making up.
It's only 10 minutes.
Yeah.
That's not like you're up there for.
Okay, we'll move on.
Would you go?
Yeah, would you do it if you had the chance?
Yeah.
If you were get won a scholarship to go.
Yes.
You would.
Wouldn't you?
Good for you.
She'd make them land on the moon and go for a hike.
I'm gutless.
Okay, moving on. You mentioned Kyrie Irving. He still won't get the COVID-19 vaccine. He's with the Brooklyn Nets, as we know. He said on Instagram Live this week, it's not about the money, that he's doing what's best for him. He isn't eligible to play home games due to New York's mandate that requires players to be vaccinated in public venues, but he is standing firm with his stance against the vaccine, Dan.
Well, he is, and at some point, just as the team, I think, and I guess the city of New York, in conjunction with their rules that are in effect, they have every right, I think, to go forward with what they're saying. We're not interested in a part-time player. We're just not interested in going down that road. It doesn't work that way. He has a right. He does have a right to say, I don't want to do it. I mean, that is 100% true. Part of where I think, for me, he has undermined his own credibility is some of the folks he has tended to like or be connected to, and I think we've even talked about this on the show before. One of these idiots who says that the vaccines, that secret societies are implanting vaccines, I think the quote is, in a plot to connect black people to a master computer for a plan of Satan. If you want to have, you know, a reasonable conversation about here's why I'm still holding out or here's what bothers me, you've doomed yourself from the beginning if that's the sort of sandbox you're going to play in, because it's just so ludicrous that how can you have a reasonable conversation about your concerns and I really want to be serious on this subject when you seem to connect yourself to that kind of garbage?
You can't. Now, again, this is pretty simple. He can do whatever he wants. Yes. We can disagree with it.
Absolutely.
I don't agree with it. I think he's being naive about it. But New York can do whatever they want.
Correct.
The Nets, you hear Steve Nash says, we're done with it. We know. Kevin Durant's, I think, trying to take the high road and say, no reason.
Yes.
Hey, it is what it is. We're not going to change his mind. No reason for us to be mad. I'm still pretty good. Harden's still pretty good. We'll move on without him, and that's it. The other thing that's kind of bugging me about this, though, is people bringing in all the good stuff Kyrie Irving does, right? Because he has done, it's undeniable, stuff that he's done in all kinds of communities all over the country that he's never taken credit for.
30 seconds.
The
Unbelievable.
list is impressive.
And so I believe him when he says, I'm not interested in the money. Like, he has helped a ton of people. He's also thought the earth is flat. So what are we supposed to do?
I thought that was a bit.
I don't think so.
Oh, all right,
I don't think. Well, regardless. It was discussed for a while.
Yeah.
But so there's a lot that goes into it.
Enough
but
said.
In this one, he can do what he wants, and the team can move on.
The one downside is, again, he basically convinced two other great players to come to him.
Yes.
And so they have a right to say,
they're the ones that it affects.
Whatever happened to you wanting us to be a part of something special? That's the problem.
Moving on. Have you noticed more ads on your Twitter feed lately?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
For the Upper Midwest Emmys specifically.
Wait, no, we're not talking about that anymore.
Oh, we're not anymore? Oh.
The social media site says it's going to test, or it is testing, a new ad format. They're going to place ads inside threads.
Oh, great.
So you start a thread with someone, an ad's going to pop up. It's all about making more money, though, of course. As the site struggles to get more users, they made some promises to their investors, and they are trying to pull through with those, Dan.
Money is the root of all evil. I think somebody once said it. Was it Karl Marx?
Unless you're Jeff Bezos and you take Shatner to space.
Yeah, that's very different.
Changing lives.
Look, I can't say that scientifically I've studied whether much more often I notice ads. The eye test indicates to me I'm seeing a bunch more pop up.
Yep.
And I will say that in an odd sort of way, I might be encouraged by it, because I do believe I've noticed myself being on Twitter less out of annoyance because of it seemed like every fourth item is another promoted.
Yeah.
And you know what I actually do? I then block it. And I'm assuming that does nothing, because they're just going to replace it with some other promoted ad.
They're going to come back bigger and better than ever.
Better.
Yeah.
Like, at least I don't have to listen to that particular pitch anymore. But I wonder if there is a bridge too far here where you go, okay, I get it. We're all in this to make more money. We all love commercials, including here at Enough Said.
We're about to take one.
But there's a part of it for me that says, be careful how far you go, or you're going to end up losing more people this way, because I don't scroll quite as much as I did. And maybe that's a good thing, because I've been trying to figure out a way to wean myself off of Twitter.
So Twitter, in this case, is helping your mental health.
I'm saying
You're getting more clarity.
Is, even though that's clearly not their intent.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
But that is always the conundrum for them, because, like Lori said, they need the money. They have investors. They have people that they answer to. They're not hitting the mark. They're not hitting the numbers. So what do? I mean, you add more, but then do you decrease how much time people are spending on? This was always Facebook's thing, if you want to believe the social network is, let's not sell to anybody. Let's not do anything yet. Let's make it cool. Let's have people like it. Before we start messing with it. But that's inevitably what happens to all these things. It's hard to just have a cool organic thing that isn't about the bottom line.
And they're all about, well, there's something else coming by, and we don't want to get passed over by it. We've got to try to find a way to stay fresh and current and with it in a while.
We'll be back after these messages.
Yeah.
I can't because I did a movie. I know you did, and but you can't tell me where. I can like wherever I want.
Welcome back to Enough Said. It's lightning round time. A writer for Barstool Sports went after actor John Cusack for being at a White Sox game. Cusack is also a Cubs fan. Is that a thing? You can't be a fan of two local teams?
Talk to the Chicagoan.
Historically, it's a bit, but that was so painful to see. And what was the most painful part of the whole thing for me is that it actually, speaking of Twitter, became, that's what's trending.
Oh, it's viral.
America is commenting on, and we're back to, that's why we're doomed, because who gives a bleep, to be quite honest, about any of this nonsense? And the guy doing it is doing it to get exactly what he got out of it, even if he got hammered pretty good by John Cusack. You know, it's these silly games, because the more important, serious stuff we have in the world, we don't know what to do with it.
No, we don't.
So we end up taking sides on nonsense like this. Who got the better? What's the poll say? Which side are you on? It's your country.
Cheer for whoever you want.
Yeah.
The Gophers play.
I'm fine with that too at this point in my life.
The Gophers play Nebraska this weekend, coming off a bye, and we also found out the running back Trey Potts is out for the season, Justin.
Yeah, they're down to their third running back, third and fourth, because they'll probably play a couple. Huge game. Huge. I mean, for both teams, it's a massive game. Probably even more so for Nebraska.
Pivotal.
They need to go to
pivotal.
They need to go to a bowl game. For Nebraska, absolutely. For the Gophers too. I mean, their schedule is easier down the stretch, but this is one, as you looked at the schedule, that you marked in the win column. If you were going to have a successful season and you were going to win 7, 8, 9 games or whatever you want to finish with, it's an important one tomorrow.
Here's the hard part: if Nebraska's offense is legitimately good, then you're going to have to score some points.
Yeah.
And the question is, what is this offense going to look like? Right? You're down to the third running back. Do you stick with this is meat and potatoes what we do, or do you say, even if we don't feel we're ready to throw more, we almost have to be more aggressive, because when you're down to your third string running back, you can't expect to get the production you got out of the first two, correct?
A report by the U.S. Labor Department shows people are quitting their jobs at a record pace. If you had to quit your job, what would you do? Just like another job.
I'm going to space.
Talking to the wrong guy here.
Go to space,
I mean, I've got 12 jobs. You're talking to the wrong guy.
What would I do? I'd probably go work in a library. The libraries still exist?
Yes.
Yes.
Of course
they do exist.
You might be by yourself.
Well, there
might be some kids' field
just
trips
something
that pop in
very
every
quiet
once in a while.
and sedate, you know, something completely different.
I think you should work at a
where I
bookstore.
wouldn't have to scream like I do on the radio.
Oh, sure.
5 days, 6 days a week.
Lori, what would you do?
I would run a scrapbooking business.
Really?
Yeah, so you drop off your box of
I like
memorabilia,
that.
and I would put it in a beautiful book for you.
Wow. I like
I've
that.
thought about that before.
Man, I can tell. That was a very specific answer. You're locked in.
Although it's backbreaking work. Scrapbooking is, I'm not kidding.
It's true.
Very meticulous,
I'm
sure.
Yes.
You have the patience for it.
And finally, singer Meghan Trainor made some headlines this week when she said that she has side-by-side toilets with her husband.
Where's the photo of this?
And yes, I know. I don't own the photo.
I don't think you want to
just
see it.
imagine two toilets next to each other, and yes, they have used them at the same time together.
Saturday Night Live did a sketch on this like 20 years ago.
Would be interested in doing. They said
No.
it's nice because if you both have to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, you don't have to wait.
My question is, how long do you need the toilet that you can't take a number and wait? Like
sometimes you got to go.
Well, I know, but
go.
are we talking hours?
With you.
That's my concern.
This again, though, falls into the category of there's how many people on the planet?
Billions.
Okay, so the fact that there might be one couple, this is what they do. Why do we care? Even if
just like we cared about Ashton and Mila not bathing their kids.
Canceled as a result of it.
We must talk about Meghan Trainor and her husband.
I will say she had the nicer toilet.
John Cusack with the idiot from Barstool?
Barstool Sports, yeah, White Sox Dave.
That's what we have. That's what
he has a name, Dan. It's White Sox Dave.
We're making it worse.
Enough said.
Because we're fixating on it. We're part of the problem. Maybe we would win an Emmy if we would stop fixating on this nonsense.
Stop.
I can't even clean.
Stop. No more.
The one toilet that.